Straight all day.
Get into it. You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, let's give you a little bit more. All right, this is going to be the personal initiative. This is that go-getter energy. You know, when you ever get to those moments where you're like, I'm just tired of waiting for things to happen. I'm going to just go make something happen. You know that feeling. You've been there before. We're going to infuse you with that energy. We call that personal initiative. And we put all of this together, all of these elements together: discipline, confidence, mental toughness, personal initiative. And what you get, what comes out on the other end, it's the mindset, the method, the philosophy, the book, the show known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, your host. And today's topic is how to play the long game of life like a true professional. I've talked about the long game in a couple of different episodes. I mean, any topic that I talk about here, I have at least touched on from some other angle, maybe under the umbrella of a different topic for that particular show. But I haven't done this one in this particular way that we're going to do here today. That's obviously why I'm doing it. But we talked about professionalism. We talked about playing a long game. We have talked about looking at the long-term effects of your actions over the short-term effects of your actions. I've done episodes on all three of those subjects, probably multiple episodes on all three of those topics. In online sales, what got me to thinking about this specific topic in this specific way that I'm talking about it is that any of you who works online, does any kind of online marketing, or you sell your own products, if you've taken any courses or read any books or learned from anybody who knew what they were talking about, you may have heard someone say something along the lines of that the amateurs in business, it doesn't even have to be online actually, this could be brick and mortar, any kind of business. The amateurs in business focus on the front end of their businesses, meaning the money that you make and your initial engagements with a client or a customer. The amateurs focus on the money you make and your first interaction with that person. The professionals, here's what they focus on. They focus on the money that they make on the back end. In other words, they're not super concerned with how much money they make the first time they interact with you, because they know once you're in and you've gotten enough value and you've bought into what it is they have to offer, you're going to buy again. And that's where they make the real money. And as I get into this episode, you'll understand exactly what I mean about that. But in every industry, any business, and everyone who's listening to this is in some form of business, whether you're on the paying side of business predominantly, meaning you're spending a whole lot of money or somebody's spending money on your behalf, or you're spending money that you don't even have right now that you're going to have to pay back plus interest sometime in the future, college students. In every industry, the pros are strategizing for their long-term success, meaning they may make some sacrifices in the short term in order to make a whole lot more in the long term, while the amateurs are only focusing on what's going on right now. As I've mentioned many times here, ever since I did an episode on it, time perspective. Time perspective is a simple concept that people who are the more successful people in life make their decisions with a perspective focusing on further into the future than people who are less successful. It's as simple as that. The more successful you're going to become, your decisions are usually based on further into the future than a person who is going to be less successful compared to you. All right, so there's no relative, or not relative, there's no absolute scale of what success is. But if you want to become a more successful person yourself, let's forget about other people. All you need to do is make your decisions thinking even further into the future than what you've been doing to this point. So how far in the future could you go, Dre? I mean, we all won't be here forever. Just think about how long you plan on being in whatever field that you're in. Make your decisions based on that amount of time. And if you're focusing only on the short term, even though you may get some gains in the short term by making those focuses, it's going to eventually cost you the game if you find yourself going up against somebody who is focused on the long term. All right, so you got to make sure, well, not even make sure, you're going to follow everything I'm going to say here today, but check yourself. What we talk about here today, I'm going to tell you some stories, some anecdotes from my own experiences, and I want you to think about your own. How are you playing the game the long way like a true professional, or are you playing the game right now the short way like an amateur? But as long as you're aware of it, you can always do something about it. That's the power of recognizing any errors or mistakes that we're making. So let's get into it. Point number one. Today's topic is how to play the game like a true professional. Just recently, actually, let me back up before I even tell you what happened recently. I'm from Philadelphia, PA. For those of you who don't know, that is the home of Italian water ice. Now, I know some of you who may be from New York, you think New York is the home of Italian water ice. No, the home of Italian water ice is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know this because in Philadelphia, there is a water ice franchise known as Rita's Water Ice. Now, Rita's wasn't the home of Rita's is in a town that's right outside of Philadelphia. I think the home base of Rita's is Trevose, PA. And I remember this town, Trevose, because my mother, when I was a young child, she used to actually work in Trevose, not at Rita's, but she did work in Trevose. So I remember the name of that town when I saw it. I think that's where they're based. And they had several locations in the Philadelphia area when I was growing up. And they are a franchise, so people open their own locations. And I actually worked at a Rita's Water Ice when I was a teenager in the late 90s. And the guy who owned it was a franchisee. Now, just about 3 weeks ago from when I'm recording this, there was an article in the Miami New Times, I live in Miami now, that said Philadelphia-based water ice chain Rita's is opening several locations in South Florida over the next couple of months. And I was excited about this. And I read the article, saw where they were opening. They were opening 2 in Miami Beach and 1 in Hialeah. They were opening locations. That was surprising that they opened 1 in Hialeah, but that's what they're doing. Now, there are some Rita's that already existed in West Palm Beach, which is, for those of you not familiar with South Florida, that's a good hour and a half away. It's like driving from Philly to New York to get some water ice. And I had made that trip 2 times, 1 or 2 times, but it was a little bit too far. So when the Rita's opened in Miami Beach, the day that it opened, I went there and got some water ice, and it was a cool experience. It tastes exactly the same, which it should as a franchise. The same way if you get a McDonald's hamburger in LA and then you go to Dallas, the hamburgers just taste exactly the same. That's what it's supposed to be with a franchise. Everything's supposed to be uniform, and it was. So I was happy about that, and I hadn't been to the Rita's for it's probably about 2 or 3 weeks after the grand opening. I went to the Rita's again just this past weekend from when I'm recording this. I'm recording this on a Monday, but I went to the Rita's this past, I believe it was Saturday. So as I'm in there, I'm trying out a couple of flavors. They had some flavors that I hadn't tasted before. Rita's is always coming up with all these different flavors. And you know, when you're working in the sweets industry, any of you who works in it or knows anything about it, or maybe you just buy a lot of sweets, maybe like I have in my life, you notice that they can come up with damn near any type of flavor. I don't know what the process is for creating it, but you can pretty much create any flavor of sweet that you want, because it's all the shit is artificial. We know that. And I know that Rita's is sweets. Rita's is like candy, basically. But that's my thing. You know, I was talking to this guy once. He was from Europe, and he was like, you know, because he likes to smoke cigars, and he was like, Dre, do you smoke cigars? I said, no. He said, do you drink? I said, no. And he said, so what's your thing? Like, what do you do that's not like good and straight on the up and up? And I told him, I eat sweets. So I eat candy and water ice. That's my thing. So if you know it as well as I know it, then that's how you would understand that. But anyway, I'm in Rita's and I'm tasting a couple of the flavors, and the guy he dips up the water ice that I'm ordering, and the manager checks us out and all of that. Then me and Anna was with me. We go sit outside, right outside of the store, where we're consuming our water ice. We had a couple we were going to take home with us and all that. And then when I was done, I went to put the empty cup in the trash can. The manager was standing outside because he was talking to a few of the customers. And you know how managers do, at least in new businesses, they all do this. They shaking hands with the customers, getting to know people, building relationships. They all do that when their business is first open, but most of them don't keep doing it after the business is open. That's how businesses flatline and end up falling apart. But anyway, we'll see how this manager does. But this guy, he was an Argentinian guy. He is talking to the customers and all of that. And he saw me about to put this cup in the trash can. So he kind of held open the trash can door for me. I put it in there. He asked me how it was, because I think he was assuming this was my first time ever having Rita's water ice. Because a lot of people in South Florida have no idea what water ice is, let alone they know anything about Rita's. And I said it was excellent. And then I said to him, hey, you know, I used to work at Rita's water ice. And he just lit up. And he was like, what, you used to work at Rita's? And I said, yeah, man, I'm actually from Philadelphia. Mind you, we're in the middle of Miami Beach, so he had no reason to know where I was from. He was like, oh man, we start talking, we shake hands. He tells me his name, I tell him my name, and then he says, you know, the reason why we started this whole business is that, or the reason why we brought the business to South Florida is because we did the psychographics, the demographics of people. And we found that people who are from Philly, because people from Philly and South Jersey, they know about Rita's because that's where it started. So there are a ton of Rita's water ices in the Philadelphia area and South Jersey area. So anyone who's from that area, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not from that area, you have no idea what any of these products are, but just stay with me. You'll understand the whole story. It's not really about the water ice. It's about this interaction here. And he's saying, we found out that a lot of people who come from Philly, when they move to South Florida, and these are the type of areas that they live in, because the area that the Ritas is in is actually a really predominantly Jewish area. But a lot of these Jewish people are from originally Philadelphia, South Jersey area. And I guess they were targeting me too. I'm black and I'm not Jewish, but I am in South Florida and I do know Ritas. So I was there, so they were absolutely right. So you're the type of person that we target. So we're talking to him for a couple minutes, introduce ourselves, and he says, hey, come in, I got to show you something. So we go back into the shop. He goes to the counter, the register area, and he pulls out this coupon book. And he gives me a coupon book with 52 weeks of free water ice. That it's like a regular size water ice, which costs about $5. When I was working at Rita's, the size water ice that costs $5 now costs like $1.25, but now it's $5. So he gave me 52 weeks of that. So what's that? That's about $250 of free water ice that he gave to me that I can use once a week. Now I do got to come up there and actually get it, but I'm telling you that whole story for you to understand something. For me, so he gave me this coupon book. All right, so that's, if I come up there every week for a whole year, that's a $5 water ice every time. That's $250 in value that he basically just gave away to me. All right, there's nothing that I don't have to buy anything else. It's not buy one get one free. I can just get a free water ice for $5 and leave if I want to do that. But let me tell you more to the story so you understand why this is related to this point today, which is playing a long game like a professional. This trip to Rita's Water Ice from where I live to this particular Rita's, which is the one I will have to come to claim my coupons, and I absolutely will, is not the most convenient trip. Any of you live in South Florida, you know that Miami Beach doesn't really have highways. So the only way to get there is you gotta, for the most part, you're gonna be riding on regular roads on one side, either on the Miami side or the Miami Beach side. This is about a 20 to 30 minute drive just to get there, and it's 20 to 30 minutes to get back. So you basically taking an hour out of your day just to go get some water ice. And if I'm gonna drive that far and spend that much time, I'm not gonna spend $5. I gotta get my money's worth out of the trip. And he probably understood that unconsciously, if not consciously. But I will come back to that place more often than I would have come back to it, simply because, for two reasons. Number one, I got this $5 coupon, and number two, because the connection that manager made with me by talking to me, finding out that I was from Philly, introducing himself, shaking my hand, the very thing that he was supposed to be doing. Talk to customers, get to ingratiate yourself with them, have them know your name, have them know your face, and you know their name, know their faces. So when they come back, they feel like they're coming to somewhere where people know them. You know, it's like that TV show Cheers, where the bar where everybody knows your name. You want your customers to feel that way about you, so they'll keep coming back. And even if there's a more convenient option, let's say if they open the Rita's, it's only 10 minutes away from me, I'm still going to go to the other one. Why? Because I know the manager. Why? Because he gave me $250 in coupons. And let's say another water ice spot pops up and they try to copy Rita's recipe and their water ice is only $2.50. I'm still going to go to the other one and pay $5. Why? As I just told you, because I know the manager, because they gave me these coupons. Most people will never make this type of investment. And I'm not saying any water ice place, but any business owner, any of you who are business owners, and if you didn't know, all of you are business owners, most people would never make this kind of investment into a customer up front of giving away. This guy gave me $250. He gave me $250 of his own product, and it's not costing me anything to get it. A lot of people don't make this type of investment up front in their customers or in anything they're doing in business, because most people only look at what it is costing them up front for what they had to give away, but they never think about what they're going to make on the back end. So let me explain this to you. Those of you who are on my email list, you probably read an article that I wrote talking about this exact same situation. That day at Rita's Water Ice, when this guy gave me this coupon book for $5 each time I come for a year, I had just spent $32 in water ice, because the quarts cost like $7, $8, and I bought like 3 of them, a couple water ices for ourselves. The bill came to $32. I spent $32 in Rita's that day. So let's say the next time that I come there, I'm not going to just get, as I already told you, I'm not driving an hour to get $5 worth of water ice. That's crazy. That's not worth the time. It doesn't make sense. If I'm going to drive up there, I'm going to buy me a couple quarts. So let's say I spend half that money. Let's say I spend $17, $18 every time I come up there, in addition to counting my $5 coupon. So they're making $13 in profit, notwithstanding their food costs and all of that stuff, every time that I come into the shop. And the thing is, I'm going to come in, let's just assume that they're making some type of profit off every transaction, right? Of course, some of it has to go into their costs, but they're making a profit off every sale that they make. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business, right? So every time I come up there, I'm going to be giving them $13. I'm getting my $5 free, but I'm giving them $13, and some of that's going to be profit. And I'm going to come up there more often simply because of that connection with the manager and because I have those coupons. But had he not given me that book, had I not shaken his hand, had we not talked, I would still come up there, but damn sure not as often. They'll probably make twice as much money off of me alone than they would have made off of me just because of that connection. Just because he gave me $250 free, they're going to make even more money than the value of those coupons. Most business people only look at what can I get from this person right now. Most business people will look at me. Let's just take that same situation and draw a parallel. All right, let's say we're not talking water ice, we're talking anything else. Most business owners are not going to give up $250 in value up front without getting anything back until or unless they know that maybe, unless they have some guarantee from me that I'm going to spend this amount or that I'm going to do this thing or that you're getting something back on the back end. That manager has no idea if I'll ever come to that shop ever again. He don't have my phone number. He don't know who I am. I doubt he's listening to this podcast. He has no idea anything about me. I may never come back up there. I might give the book to somebody else. I could sell that book to somebody for $100 and they can just come in there and get a free water ice for $5 every week for a year. They gave up that $250 and get nothing back. He has no idea what's going to happen with that coupon book, if anything's going to happen with it. But he was willing to make that investment up front. You as a business owner, ask yourself this question. How much value are you investing into your audience, your customers, your clients, your prospects, even people who have not spent $1 with you? Maybe they got to spend $1. Let's say people who only spent $1. How much value are you investing in them up front? Meaning, how much more are you giving them than what they have given you at the beginning? This is what a professional does. The professional is going to give more value to their audience before they get anything from the audience, or even if they do, they're going to give so much more to the audience than what the audience could give to them that it's completely imbalanced. And a business person, let's say some accountant, let's say somebody who was just counting the numbers, the bean counters, they're going to be looking at you, business owner, like, hey, what the hell are you doing? You're giving away way more than you're bringing in. This is not sustainable. All right, that's how amateurs think. Amateurs are just looking at the bottom line results of every single transaction. But professional understands that they need to give a whole lot more up front because they're going to make a ton more on the back end than they could ever give up front. This is what a professional does. The professional gives away, metaphorically speaking, the $250 in coupons to the customer that they have no idea if that customer is ever going to buy another thing ever. He gave me $250. I gave him $32. All right, that's out of balance. All right, he does that with too many people, he would go out of business, it seems, right? But if you make the right connection and you're choosing the right people, no, he's going to make $1,000 off of that $250 investment, probably. And that's not a joke. Literally, he's going to, for every $1 of free water ice that I get, I'm probably going to spend $4. That's how a professional does business. So look at yourself. You don't even have to be selling anything. All right, I hope y'all are following the metaphor here. It is not about water ice. It's not about having a brick and mortar. You don't even have to have a product to offer. Okay. How much are you giving up front for the job that you're hoping to or already are being paid for? If you're giving this much more value in terms of you're giving this much more value relative to how much you are taking from an audience member or customer or prospect or client up front, all right, they're going to come back. Not all of them are going to come back. Listen, every now and then in life, you're going to come across a freeloader. He has no idea if I'm a freeloader. I'm not a freeloader, but he doesn't know that. He don't know who I am. I'm sure he's going to give away a couple of those coupon books to people who ain't coming back or people who are only going to come get their free water ice and not spend another $1. Those are the freeloaders. He has no idea that I might be one of them. I'm not, but he doesn't know. But he's willing to make that investment. So you, looking at your clients, your customers, your audience, your readers, your followers, your subscribers, are you making that kind of investment in them up front with the expectation that some of them are going to pay you back on the back end so much that it will more than make up for all the freeloaders who are going to take and not give anything back? Time perspective, ladies and gentlemen, applies to your personal life as well as your business life. You could take that same story I just gave you and metaphorically apply it to your personal relationships as well as any business relationship that you have going on. You marinate on that one after this episode. Point number 2. Today's topic is how to play the long game of life and business like a true professional. Second thing you have to do is create systems and routines that are duplicatable in your process. One of the things that I just told you about the Rita's water ice is that the flavors that I know, the ones that I've tasted before, and they had the same flavors at the Rita's in Miami Beach that they had in Philadelphia even 20 years ago when I used to work there, they taste exactly the same. You know why they taste the same? Because Rita's, the franchise, even though they're owned by different people, each location, the franchise system makes sure that every single pina colada tastes exactly the same, or every cherry, or every strawberry, or every whatever flavor that I tasted that they had at the other ones, passion fruit. They taste exactly the same. McDonald's, any McDonald's you go to, the fries will taste the same as long as they're cooked right, as long as the burger is made properly. The McFlurries, they still make McFlurries, they will all taste exactly the same. You know why? Because there are systems and routines in place that are duplicatable. But it's more than just that. You know what else, what other value you get from having systems and routines in place is that from the outside looking in, well, let me tell you something that you need to know that is not so much, not so sexy, is that it's boring. Having systems and routines in place is boring. We got any athletes listening to this? Any coaches listening to this? Are there days when practice is just boring? It's like, damn, we got to do these same warm-ups, same drills. We got to listen to the coach say the same thing. We got to go and do these, work on the same plays over and over again. We got to do these same things. I got to say the same things to my team. I got to repeat the same mantras that I've been saying all year long. It's boring. And listen, players out there, it's just as boring for the coaches as it is for you. They can't show it, but it's boring for them too. Doing the same thing over and over again is boring. All right, we're human beings. This is just the way that we're wired. But understand, doing the same stuff over and over again, even though it may be boring and tedious at times, that's the thing that makes the show, you know, the part that the consumers see and experience, that's the thing that makes the show so good. What makes the show impressive, when you go to, I don't condone this, but when you go to the circus and you see how they make the lions, or what is it, the tigers jump through rings of fire, and they make the elephants do tricks and all that stuff, those animals they hold in captivity, which they shouldn't do. But when you see them do that and it looks so impressive and the kids are blown away by it, you know why it looks so simple and they make it seem so easy? Is because they practice it. They do those routines over and over and over again. When you go to SeaWorld or anywhere they have water animals like seals and stuff, they make them do tricks and make them do a trick, then they give them some food and stuff. That's because they had those animals do those tricks probably 100 times for every one time they put on the show for an audience. It's the same thing with you. When you watch a basketball game and you see Steph Curry or LeBron James or whoever your favorite player is, do some move or make some shot, and they make it look so easy. The reason why they can make it look easy is because they have routines and systems in place to practice those things. So by the time you see it, they've already done it 1,000 times in practice. They did it 1,000 times in the dark for the one time they get to do it in the light. The question is then, since it's not about them, it's about us, what are you doing 1,000 times in the dark for the one chance you get to do it in the light? Are you doing anything? Bruce Lee, the famous martial artist, said, I don't fear the man who has practiced 1,000 different kicks. I fear the man who has practiced one kick 1,000 times. He's saying the same thing I'm saying to you here. He fears the person who has systems and routines for their attack, not the person who does a bunch of random things and can pull a rabbit out of their hat every single time. No, I fear the person who has a system and routine that is so tight that even if I know exactly what they're going to do, they're still going to do it, and it's going to work. In professional sports, I've gone over this. I've said this example multiple times. I'm going to say it multiple times again in the future. I'm going to say it right now. In professional sports, every team knows what every other team is going to do. Y'all know that? NFL fans, NBA fans, when you watch baseball fans, all right, in baseball, right, every pitcher has a certain number of pitches that they're pretty good at throwing, right? And they play 162 games a year. And I know the pitchers don't play that many games. Let's say they play 1/5 of that many games. Every team knows what every other pitcher in the league, what pitches that pitcher throws. They know. Every NBA team knows the plays that every other NBA team runs. They know. They know how well LeBron James shoots going to his left versus going to his right. They know if Paul George likes to use the screen or he likes to go away from the screen. They know if how Chris Paul is going to defend a point guard when they run a pick and roll against him. They know every single tendency that every other player and every other team and every other coach has. Everybody knows what everybody else is going to do. So how is it possible, if you know exactly what the opponent is going to do and every opponent knows what you're going to do, how is it possible that anybody even scores a point? How is it possible that anybody can do anything if all the opponents know exactly what you're going to do? It's because of this point number 2. Their systems and routines are so airtight that even if you know exactly what I'm going to do, I'm still going to do it and you can't stop it. That's what Bruce Lee said. Person who's practiced the same kick 1,000 times. I know what the kick is. I've seen him do it. I still can't stop him from doing it because of the systems. And today's topic is treating your business, your life like a professional. What systems and routines do you have in place that couldn't be stopped even if your opponent was specifically trying to stop it? Routines and systems do a few things for you. First of all, they make your results predictable. As I just told you, I went to Rita's and the water ice tastes exactly the same. They didn't ship that one batch of water ice from Philly down to South Florida. No, all they did was give them the routines and the systems for how to make it. So when you make it, it'll taste exactly how ours tastes up here in Philly. Yours will taste the same in South Florida. That's predictable results. The reason why when I worked at McDonald's, by the end of my first day, I could make a cheeseburger and you wouldn't know whether Ronald McDonald made it, the Hamburglar made it, Ray Kroc made it, the McDonald's brother made it, or Dre Baldwin made it. It tastes exactly the same. You couldn't tell who made it. It's because they have systems in place. Their results are predictable. Another thing the routines do is allows many different people to step in and execute and produce the exact same result. As I just told you, McDonald's, anybody who's listening to this right now could work in McDonald's. By the end of the day, you can make a cheeseburger perfectly. Why? Because it's not about your talent. The McDonald's system does not care how much talent you have. All the McDonald's system needs is you to be able to follow directions. The system is so airtight that you can't possibly mess it up unless you're trying to mess it up. That's the system. That's how, if any of you ever want to start a franchise, or any of you ever work at a franchise and know anybody who does, ask them about this. They'll tell you. It's the only way that it works. Domino's Pizza, Papa John's Pizza, Pizza Hut Pizza, McDonald's, Rita's Water Ice, any franchise that you can name, the food should taste, if it's food, it tastes exactly the same everywhere you go. Why? Systems. You know, another thing that systems and routines does, it leaves out the guessing game as to what you're going to do today and what you're going to do tomorrow. Professional athletes, or any athletes out there who want to be a professional, or if we have any pro athletes out there listening, I know we have a few. You know what you're doing today. You know what your workout was today before you even got to the workout location, didn't you? You knew exactly what you were doing today. You knew, oh man, today is leg day in the gym. All right, today I got to get up 1,000 shots from this spot on the floor. Today we got to go over these right here. Any coaches or trainers in here, you already know what your workout's going to be with your players before you get to the gym, before you get to the track, before you get to the pool, before you get to the field, right? That's what makes you a professional. I mean, that's what they're paying you for. They're paying you to take the guessing game out of the process for them. That's what they pay you for. So if you don't have that system in place and know exactly what you're doing today, tomorrow, listen, hurry up and get it in place before they figure out that you're not really a professional. All right, become one now. Let today be your impetus towards doing that. The process is in place and everybody knows what's up. That's what makes something professional. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. If something goes wrong, everyone knows who messed it up, simply because the process is so airtight that nobody can mess it up unless they're trying to mess it up. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to treat your business and play the long game in your business. The business being life, that is, like a professional. Number 3, you got to nurture your leads. Any of you who's never worked in sales, maybe you've never heard this phrase. If you have worked in sales, you should be familiar with this phrase. Nurturing your leads is a very simple concept. When I used to work at Bally Total Fitness, I'll tell you this story. This is my last job before I started my pro basketball career. We had a computer system where we kept all the leads. A lead in business, for those of you who don't know, is a person who has shown, by hook or crook, some way, they have shown some interest in a business. So at Bally Total Fitness, which was a gym, is out of business now. But at Bally, in our computer system, we had a list of every person who had ever reached out to our gym in some way, shape, or form, expressing interest in possibly joining the gym. So whether that person had filled out some online form, whether that person had come into the gym and taken a look, but they hadn't joined, whether that person had accepted a free 2-week free guest pass coupon, whether that person had been referred to the gym by someone who did join the gym. They put them down as a referral. Whatever that person did, they became a lead. A lead is a person who might possibly purchase something for your business. Any of you who has an online and email list, everyone on that list is a lead. If you have an Instagram or a Twitter account or a YouTube account, all the people following you, they are leads. Now, you might not be able to get their information. That's a whole different conversation. You need to listen to episode 1114, how much does social media matter to your business, to learn why they are leads, but they're kind of not at the same time. You're a lead to YouTube more than your followers are a lead to you. But anyway, leads are people who have shown some interest in some way, shape, or form, okay? Working on people who have already shown interest was our job at Bally Total Fitness. We would all be sitting in this big room. It wasn't that big, but it was a phone room. About 6 of us could sit in there. Each of us had a computer. And on the computer, only thing you could access was this list of leads. All these people, it'd be a name, phone number, address, and notes. In the notes, whoever last contacted that person was supposed to update the lead and let everyone know, whoever might look at them next. Hey, this is the date that I talked to them. This is what happened. They answered the phone. I left a message. I talked to them. They said not interested. I talked to them. They said they already joined. I talked to them. They said stop calling us every day. That would happen more often than you would believe. But nurturing the leads means once someone has shown some interest in your offering, whatever it happens to be, whether they buy it or not, whether they accept you or not, once they have shown some interest, those are the most important people you need to be talking to. It's the same in any business or any profession. This guy who I just went to Rita's and I spent $32, he was nurturing the lead. Now, what if I'd only spent $5? He still should have shown the same interest in me whether I spent $5 or I spent $100. Why? Because I'm a lead. What makes me a lead? The fact that I walked into the shop and said, let me taste some water ice. Even if I had walked in there, sampled a couple tastes of the water ice and not bought anything, I was still a lead. Why? Because I walked in the door. I showed interest. When someone shows interest in what you're doing, even if they say no, ultimately, they are a lead because they were interested at some point. There's something in them that wanted something that you were offering. At least they thought they did. And you need to work on those people, professional, to close that deal, whatever that deal may be, or to open the deal, rather. We could call it that. So in other words, you amateurs out there, here's what you need to do. Stop jumping from opportunity to opportunity. See, that guy, that manager at Rita's, he could have easily let me throw that water ice in the trash, say goodbye to me, let me walk away, and focused on the next customer that walked in the shop. Because by the time I left, there were more customers in the shop. He could have just let me go. Look, I already got $32 out of him. I don't need to talk to him. Let me focus on these dudes who have spent no money. That's what amateurs do. But instead, he said, all right, this guy just bought something. He sat outside of the shop and consumed what he bought. Let me keep talking to this guy because obviously he's a buyer. Obviously he's interested. Let me see, how much I can nurture this lead because this guy might become a lifetime customer. Again, he had no idea that I was from Philly. He had no idea that I worked at Rita's. He had no idea that I probably consumed more water ice in my life than he has. He had no idea, but he was nurturing the lead. That's what a professional does. And that's how you build a business. So all you amateurs out there, what you would have done, metaphorically speaking, is let me go because you already got some money out of me, right? And you would have started focusing on the next person who might spend some money, and they might not. They might be a lifelong customer. They might not. They might be there. They might live around the corner and they're going to come there every 2 days and spend $20. Or they might be visiting from Wisconsin and they're never going to eat Rita's ever again in their life. But you let me, the customer is going to be worth $10,000 to you, walk away so you can focus on the person who might only be worth $20 to you. Lifetime. Professionals nurture their leads. Once you see someone has interest, you pay as much attention to them as you possibly can and get as much out of them as you can. Not in a negative way. You're getting as much out of them as you can and they're willing to give it to you because they're getting something in exchange. Find the one thing that you're going to do. And when I say opportunity to opportunity, yes, I'm talking about your clients and your customers and your prospects, but also I'm talking about what you are focusing on yourself. How many of you in the year 2019 had 7 different ideas for what you were going to do with your life? 7 different ways you were going to run your business. 7 different, every month you had some new different scheme for how you were going to make things happen in your particular area of focus. This is jumping from opportunity to opportunity, what I just described. Many amateurs, what makes them amateurs and what keeps them amateurs is that they don't stick to things for long enough to realize any true results in what they're doing. The results don't come fast enough for them, whatever fast means, so they jump to the next thing. And guess what? The same thing happens again. Then they jump to the next thing. And guess what? The same thing happens again. Then they jump to the next thing. And as we speak right now, they're already jumping to the next thing. And I'm talking about somebody who's listening to this right now. You already jumped to the next thing today without staying with the last thing long enough to see if it would actually work. Maybe without getting the right information, investing in yourself to get the right information to even know if you were doing the last thing the right way. And that's probably why it didn't produce results, because you didn't have the right information and or you didn't apply the information properly or in a disciplined fashion. Find the thing that you're going to actually do and stick to it long enough to get results. Amateurs are always looking for the quick thing, and if they don't get the quick thing, they move on to the next thing, and guess what? They just end up in a cycle. They end up on a hamster wheel of opportunity. That's a good one right there. That just came to me. See, this is why you do this every day. The hamster wheel of opportunity that I just made up is when someone's jumping from one opportunity to the next, to the next, to the next, and there's always a new opportunity out there, all right? There's always somebody out there willing to sell you on something, all right? Whether you got to buy it with your money or buy it with your time, which is even worse. There's always somebody out there selling some idea. Amateurs are running on a hamster wheel of opportunity because there's always a new one to chase after, but the thing is, no matter how hard they run, they never seem to get anywhere. Know anybody like that? Maybe you see him when you look in the mirror. Let's keep it real. Professionals understand the long-term game that they're playing, and they play it properly. Let's recap today's topic, which is how to play the long game of your life. And your life is a business, and in your business, whatever your business happens to be, like a true professional. In sales, in any type of business, doesn't even have to be sales, any form of business, every business is sales, but you get it. Amateurs focus on the front end, meaning what do we get right now today, while professionals focus on the back end? What do we get over the next 5, 10, 20 years, the lifetime value of this relationship with whatever we're dealing with? In every industry, the pros look long term, the amateurs are looking short term. Which one are you? Number one, told you the story of Rita's Water Ice. The manager gave me $250 worth of free water ice, doesn't have any idea who I am, or if I will ever come back, or if I will ever spend an extra dollar besides those $250 of free water ice that he gave me. The reason why he did that is what? He understands that professionals invest in the front end, meaning they put something in the front end. He just gave me $250 for free after a $32 exchange. I won, quote unquote, the exchange between me and him at this point. But in the long run, he's going to win because I guarantee I'm going to spend another $1,000 at Rita's over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Why? Because I like Rita's. How does he know that? He didn't, but he was willing to invest in me. What are you investing in up front in order to make something on the back end? Time perspective, ladies and gentlemen. Point number 2, create systems and routines that are duplicatable. You want to be a professional, you need systems in place. In other words, professionals don't get to work and then ask themselves, damn, what am I going to do today? Professional already knows what they're going to do today, tomorrow, the next day, the next day, and the next day after that. Do you know? If you don't know, you're not a professional. At least not yet. Even if you're getting paid, you're not a professional yet. Professionals already know exactly what they're going to be doing, how, when, why, and where they're going to be doing it before they start doing it. One of the things about being a professional is that it's boring. Doing the same thing over and over again, that's boring. All right. All of you out there who are pros, you may have people who you're in charge of, you have to lead them. You can't tell them that it's boring. You can't show them that it's boring, but you know it's boring. All right. Between me and you, we know that it's boring. It's boring to go to the gym every day and do the same workouts. It's boring to do the same stuff over and over again. It is boring, but understand the boring routines that you go through is what makes the show impressive, because understanding your customers, your fans, your audience, they don't see the workouts. All they see is the show. And if the show looks good enough, listen, they'll pay for it. What routines do is make your results predictable. They allow many different people to step in and execute and produce the same results. And it leaves out the guessing game as to what to do today, what to do tomorrow. The process is in place and everybody knows what's up. And point number 3, nurture your leads. If you want to be a professional, nurture the leads, meaning don't keep jumping from one thing to the next thing, to the next person, to the next person. Stick with the people that are already showing interest, the people that are already producing some type of ROI, even if it's someone just showing interest in what you do, reading a blog post, listening to a podcast, watching a video, sending you an email, asking you a question. Those people are showing you interest. That is interest. Invest in those people before you go running after the person who's not even paying attention to you. The amateurs chase from one opportunity to the next and they end up on this hamster wheel of opportunity, doing a whole lot of hard work, but going absolutely nowhere. Whereas the professionals, they nurture their leads. When someone has shown interest, you got to keep paying attention to them until you create the exchange that you wish to create. This is what professionals do. Amateurs are always looking for the quick win. Professionals understand the long-term game that they are playing. What game are you playing? Work on your game. Dre all day.